Hello, welcome and an excellent evening. We have another C64, even dirtier than the C16. I'm not sure which video goes out in which order, but there will or has been a C16 as well. And this one also has a couple of bodges, mainly from the SIP chip to some over here, so I guess there are some broken traces. And this one is also kind of a little bit dead. This one here seems to be from mid-1983. We already had one with the broken oscillator crystal, where there was a cold solder joint. That was a Patreon exclusive. You can look up this video. It was very short because it was literally only this thing. Plus, I think I needed to repair the keyboard a little bit, but there was mostly nothing. And you can join over on patreon.com root42, and that is a free video, so everybody who joins can watch that, even if you join on the free tier, so you don't have to pay anything. Make sure to check that out. Either way, this is another one of the assembly number 250407, also with a ceramic VIC2, which is very nice. And I do remember testing this, and I think it produces an image, a black image. But I think that's it. The two CRAs are missing. I think this came without any CRAs. I do have at least one CRA left over, maybe a second slightly broken one. So we might need to order more CRAs. It might just be a case of bad PLA, who knows? But as this thing is in a little bit of a rough shape, yeah, let's first check and see what the desk test max and the dead test and the diagnostic ROM all have to say. So let's dig in. All right, first test obviously is to power this on without anything attached to this. We should at least get a video signal. The CRAs are not in here, so any input-output will not be working. But let's see what we get. I forgot to turn on the capture device. And we get a blue screen. That's interesting. So a little bit of code seems to be running. Let's check what happens if we plug in the desk test. Don't be confused about the dead test here. That was on this ROM before, but now it's the desk test max. And it produces garbage on the screen. Seems to be just garbage. So this, I would say, could point into the direction of a broken PLA perhaps. Now it's not getting anywhere. Let's retry. It might also be slightly corroded port. No, this was just a one-off, it seems. Yeah, we still get the blue screen. Let's test first the dead test with the UFD cartridge. I do expect the clock to be just fine because we saw a blue screen. And indeed it says 985. The dead test doesn't even blink. So my guess is a broken PLA. I would straight go for desoldering this because I think this is our best guess. I don't have any replacement PLAs on hand, but I do have these nifty little things. These are replacement PCBs which take 2 GALs, 20 V8s. I do have 4 here, I think, so I can build 2 PLAs, which you can program using the TL866 or a similar programmer, and have a replacement GAL. There will be pin headers here on the bottom, and then 2 sockets for the PLA. So let's unsolder this one here and solder this thing and program it and check it out if this helps at all. Okay, the PLA came out relatively easily using the desoldering gun. I marked it with a question mark just so we know that this might be broken. I will install this nice socket, I think, in here. If I can get it in, that is. I might have to do a little bit more cleaning up on the VCC or ground pin. I'm not sure which this is, but yeah, let's solder this in and also put together the replacement gal. I put in the pin headers first into the socket, then put the PCB on top so that the soldering is definitely straight. That's a good hint, I think, that you should do. We didn't need to put it into the whole board, but since it's ending up there anyway, I will just solder it here in place. So there it is. This is the replacement. We now need to program the gals. Let's have a look. These are obviously new old stock or even used. I'm not sure. They do look like they might be new old stock. They look rather nice. So let's see if they work. The problem is these are not in production anymore. So you have to look around a bit on eBay or similar sites to get these. These are the Lattice Gal 20 V8B 25LP. There is a website. I will put a link to the video description where you can download these. They come in different speeds, and this is the 25 nanosecond version, I think. And there are different versions for the different speeds to get the timings right. So let's get over to the computer and program these using the TL866+2. So this is the website, freepascal.org by, who is it? I think this is Daniel Mantion or something. Not quite sure, but this person created the PAL replacement, PLA replacement, sorry. And we have 4 different files. We have the 3L versions. This is the fuse map that you should program into the left gal. This file uses exactly the same product terms as the original PLA. And the only difference with the original PLA will be that I/O and RAMCAS outputs are generated using multiple microcells of the gals, which is necessary to make the equations fit. This file is recommended if you use 25 nanosecond gals, which we do. So we probably want to load this for the left gal. This is an alternative fuse map, which we could also use, but let's just use this. And an alternative version for 50 nanosecond. And the right one is actually fine with either thing. So let's go here. We have different variants here. We have the V8B, it seems. So this should be the one we're using. We are using the MiniPro tool. Okay, this should be the command. P for the device ATF20V8B, writing the left jet file. And this is looking good so far. And it verified okay. So let's already plug this into the left socket if possible. I noticed that one of the legs was bent a little bit. Yeah, I'll put that in a second. Let's first do the second one. Oh, this one also got a slightly bent pin, probably during shipping or packaging. The good thing is the ZIF socket on the programmer straightens those a bit. And then let's try to program the right one. Good thing is it seems to be a genuine part, which is nice. And that also wrote. Okay, so let's head over to the C64 and see if we can get this working. And there we go. It was a bit difficult to get them inside because the legs were slightly bent, but I could use this tool here to poke very gently and bend all the pins into place. I'm gonna turn on the power supply and I'm gonna throw the switch now. And we're getting exactly the same thing. Oh, that's a bit sad. Let's see what the desk test says. That's a bit sad. I was hoping it would just work. So the desk test max still doesn't do anything, which is interesting. Video signal is there. We probably need to poke around a little bit more. For example, if the CPU is executing any code, break out the oscilloscope. Let's also use the dead test and see if that says anything at all. Nothing at all. Voltage is here. But nothing else. Let's see the diag. No, still a blue screen. Interesting, but at least a blue screen. That's something. Well, very interesting indeed. So it might not be the PLA after all. Maybe that's still good. That's interesting. So we need to poke around a little bit more. What else could be wrong? The SID has a couple of botch wires, which shouldn't be too terrible, I think. But we could remove it anyway, but maybe the SID is just fine. That it shouldn't hurt usually. So the next things we should check is the voltages, the reset circuit, if the processor comes out of reset, which I suspect should be the case because the blue screen is showing. That should mean that at least a little bit of code is executing. It might still be one of the ROMs that's broken. These are the three ROMs: basic, kernel, and character ROM. I can replace those. I think this one has already been replaced because it has a different socket. This one just might have been from factory. Although I see this is from 1988, so both seem to have been replaced at some point. Only this ROM here. I'm not sure about the order, but I think if one of them is broken and blocking the data bus, it might be an issue. So yeah, let's start probing. We're here. I inserted two CIAs. This one is marginal. I think both work fine, except this one has a slightly broken time of day clock. The last digit is not working, but I probably leave this in anyway, because the time of day is, I think, not really used by anything properly. In any way, 99.9% of programs will run just fine. And there's another time of day in this one anyway. And the clock still works, but the last digit, the first, like the hour digit, seemed to be wonky. Either way, the thing now works with this PLA. So it was actually, I did solder the replacement PLA just to be sure that it does work. But there were other issues. Namely, I had to beep around a lot with the multimeter. There were a bunch of traces from here and to here, all from the SID chip that someone already discovered, plus one up here that was broken. I think someone stole off the SID chip here and desoldering in a very crude manner and destroyed the board, which is why now we have these bodge wires here, 4 traces being ripped. But there is another broken trace on the left side here. What I don't see is, I don't hear any sound from this machine, only if I touch this upper left corner of the SID chip. First I thought it was the capacitors, because the first 4 pins are wired simply through these capacitors. They help with the filters of the SID chip. But they are not the problem. They measure fine, they measure 470 picofarad as they should. Everything has continuity. But the 5th pin is the reset pin. And when looking on the scope, this is always low, which means reset is always active. Putting my finger on here seems to lift it out of reset, kind of, and then the SID starts playing. So I think this is an issue. The CPU gets out of reset, so the reset circuit itself should be working. I think there might be a 555 somewhere here doing the reset or something. I'm not sure. At least on the, I think on the C16 there's a 555. I'm not sure what does the reset here, but something pulls the reset line low for like a second and then lets it back up for the remainder of the runtime, which is exactly what we should see, but we don't. So let's probe around with the multimeter in continuity, also looking at the schematics, because that's what you should always do to see where everything is going. Basically, the reset is down here, it's on pin 5 and it's inverted, so it means active low. Goes here, goes over here to the leftmost thing, then goes through a resistor onto the cartridge expansion port, which shouldn't do anything, but goes off here on another page to this reset circuit, I would guess. So there should be something here sending off the reset. Let's have a look. This is not it. And this is the reset. Here it goes. It comes from somewhere over here. The serial bus has a reset signal, and the CIA has a reset input. This has something. Yeah, good question. The CPU has the reset signal, obviously, but who generates the reset? Ah, look at this. It's a 5F6 actually. This is the reset circuit. So we should have continuity to U8 pin 8 and R36 on one of the sides at least. So the inverter here, U8 pin 8. Let's see. So we are over here at the edge. That's U8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's pin 8. To this via we should have continuity. So here's our multimeter. Let's put it into continuity mode. Okay, that's good. And let's see. Let me show you that the capacitors, for example, are hooked up correctly. Yes, they are. And now pin 8, that's this via here, should be hooked up to pin 5, but it doesn't. And on the microprocessor, that's which pin? Pin 40, it seems. So we should have a beep here. Yes. There we have continuity, so that is working. So the problem is that there's a broken trace between those two. And the question is, where is that broken trace? I will have a look. I think it might be this via here or something. Let's see if that's actually the case. No. I think it might pop up somewhere here. Yeah, I will have a look offline and tell you. And here I can actually show you the damage trace. We are trying to get from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from this pin, this is the reset pin, over to this via here. I have continuity from this via to the 7406 inverter, but you can see this little brown spot here. That's a broken trace. There's no continuity from this socket to this via. So we will run a little wire, probably on the back side because it's easier to get to. And this tells me that this whole area really was damaged when someone desoldered the SID chip, I would guess, or took out the socket or whatever. You can still see the broken traces here, the dark ones, which are fixed on the back side as well. So let's run a very short wire, and then hopefully this board is back to working order with everything back in place and all original chips basically, with only a wonky time of day on one CIA. Okie dokie. Let's try again. I put a very short wire from the pin of this socket over to this via, which you can see from this slightly more shiny blob of solder, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the reset pin, and we go to the inverter, and there we have continuity, which is exactly what we wanted. So we can do the test. I think even with the test harness we might still get bad input on the ports here due to the way this is being tested for the pedals, but wouldn't worry. If everything else works except for the time of day, I will be fine with this. So let's fire up everything with the test harness attached and see what this thing does. All right, test harness is attached on every side, even the control ports where I think they probably won't work due to the way this thing is tested. But let's flip the switch. Nothing blew up. We get the diag cartridge. You can see on the screen that the hours are broken, but the minutes and seconds will count up. I wonder what happens after 1 hour of on time. Maybe that corrects itself. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not correctly reset, but maybe there are stuck bits in the clock. I don't know. RAM tests fine, which is always a great thing. Color RAM is being tested currently. That also seemed to be fine, although it had some bodges wired to it now on the bottom. I will probably put a little bit of solder stop on there. Cassette port worked fine. Control port, as usual, is marked as bad. Sound works. Brilliant. Interrupt is marked as bad. Not quite sure about that. Could be an issue with this board, maybe. That the CIA is marked bad is totally clear because of the time of day, I would say. I will run Sam's Journey and see if that works, and maybe 1 or 2 demos to check if everything's running fine, because that's the best I can do. If I get a cheap CIA at some point, yeah, I can put it in here, but I won't spend the money on that because this is such a nice old flaky machine. Yeah, we'll definitely also give it a little wash because it's terribly dirty. But before I do that, I roughly clean the area below the SID and put some solder mask on there. Yeah, but anyway, here's the second round, and except for the control port thing, I'm still wondering if I wired this up incorrectly. Maybe some of you can tell me. This here goes to this port and this here goes to this port. Is that correct? Because on every board I got the control port bad issue, but it might just be the version of the diag software that I'm using, because everything else is working fine. Joystick input works. So yeah, I'm not sure. So yeah, let's run some software and see if that also works. Yeah, and as you can see, this machine is working again. It loaded up just fine. Sam's Journey, a brilliant little game that is very hard to play on this capture device due to the input lag. But plus the colors of the VIC seem to be very vibrant. It seems to be the specific revision of the VIC chip, which runs relatively hot, I must say. But it has this giant cooler, or what do you call it, thing on it, which is good, I would say. So yeah, I think this should actually be a fixed machine. The keyboard is still pretty dirty. I think I don't want to redo all the rubber stamps on the bottom side because every key press seems to register. What I usually do is I use MG Chemicals 838AR conductive ink, which is this black. It comes in a little pen. I squirt it into a yogurt cup and use a brush actually, to apply it. But I would have to take off... I don't have to take off all the keycaps actually. It's only if I want to clean everything, but I have to take out all the screws here. And I think this keyboard doesn't need it yet. If the keyboard stops working, I would apply this, but I'm not going to do this as a preventative maintenance. I will put solder mask on the bottom here. I will clean the board very thoroughly, make it shiny and new. Clean the keyboard, clean the case. The case doesn't have an LED, so we need to figure something out there. Probably I'll have to 3D print something. But I would say this whole thing is working just fine, which is very, very nice. So I'm gonna clean this and put it back together and show you the end result. Alright, the machine is back together, very much cleaned. The label here is still broken, but I have a replacement label on order from the great Badgeman. I've put in a new LED because that was missing, and with a new wire, and it kind of works. The little plastic ring is missing, but if you don't push too hard on it, it will fit here. And we'll check out a demo. We like to party, I think it is. The disk drive loads, and let's see if this actually works. I would say this is working fine. I'll leave the demo running for a couple of minutes and maybe through to completion, just to see if everything on this machine is working, because the demos are usually taxing the machines quite hard, doing all kinds of trickery, and it definitely the IC port has to function. Keyboard also works, we saw that, so that is already very good news. I think this is more or less done. Maybe if it arrives quickly enough, I will put in how I replace the badge here, otherwise that might become a short video. Yeah, but this is a lovely machine with a couple of bodges, but it has still a couple of decades of life left in it, I would say. So this is very nice. Yeah, I think that's more or less it for today. Everything is working. I'll play around with this. Please leave a comment about your repairs of C64s or whatever your experiences were with the C64. Share, like, and subscribe, the usual stuff. Give it a thumbs up if you want to, or not if you don't want to, of course. You can support me as well. Links are in the video description as usual. I'm also on Mastodon, as I mentioned earlier, so if you want to interact with me, it's easiest to go there. It's chaos.social/@root42, and the link is also in the video description, obviously. But other than that, I would say that's it, and see you in the next video. Bye! Stop the presses. The badges from the Badgeman did arrive. I ordered 2 different badges, and why they're not cheap? They're from the Retro 8-bit store or something. There's also advertisement for the Evo 64, which is this super expensive C64 mainboard replica. Nothing for me. I'm just using these garbage mainboards, and there's even a tube-based preamp for $1,000. Well, okay, you can do that, but yeah, I'm not for this. The new tube is also a preamp for the SID chip. It's interesting, but not for me. Way too expensive. We're working on the cheap. But let's have a look at the badges. This is the replacement badge that will go in here, where the cut-up one is currently situated. The size is slightly different, of course, and this is a vinyl with this dome-shaped rubber filling on top, but you don't get these nice metal ones anymore. So it's very sad that someone cut this up, but so be it. Then for my second Amiga, I have this black one here. I actually needed a white one, but the Badgeman only had this black one in stock. So I took it. I think black on white will also look very nice. And I think this one I got for free. It's an Amiga Falcon 500. Atari Amiga Falcon 500. I think this is like a joke badge or something. The Atari Falcon 030 was of course a thing. But this one here, yeah, it's very funny. Not sure what that's about. But let's see if we can remove this badge here without any extra heat. And I think we can. Here it is, and it is an all-metal badge, very nicely embossed. I like it very much. However, there's also glue residue where I don't know how to remove that. It might just be hot glue, maybe. So I'll try and remove this using IPA. Give me a second, otherwise we will use some hot air around 100 degrees Celsius or something so that the plastic doesn't deform, and try to remove it that way. There we go. So IPA didn't do the trick. I scraped off most of it as good as I could, but the plastic is so old and brittle. I didn't want to torment it too much because I was fearing that this rather nice case would be damaged. The little clips on the backside here, I've already lost the legs, so this is held together only by the 3 screws. So yeah, you have to deal with this thing, of course, with a little bit of love. But that was basically the afterthought here after the main video. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.